My name is Patricia. I'm 28 years old and live in a small apartment in Washington, D.C. Washington is a big city with lots of people and tall buildings. Many things happen here, but my life is different. My life is quiet and simple. Every day is almost the same. I wake up early, take the bus, and go to work. I work in a small coffee shop downtown. It smells nice because of the coffee, but for me, it's just a job. I make many types of coffee, serve hot drinks, and sometimes give out small cakes. I talk to customers, but only in short, polite ways, just things like hello or thank you. Many different people come and go every day. My work hours are long. After work, I take the bus back home. I usually feel tired. I cook a simple dinner and eat alone. Sometimes I watch TV or read a book. Then I go to sleep. The next day, I do the same thing again, wake up, go to work, come home, sleep. My weeks are always like this. My months are the same. It's a routine. I don't have many close friends in the city. I don't go to parties, and I don't have a boyfriend. Some people dream of big things, like money or adventure. But not me. I like my quiet life. I like the calm. It feels safe. Nothing surprising happens, and that's fine with me. My world is small, but it's my world. For a long time, nothing changed. Days, weeks, and months passed in the same way. I worked at the coffee shop, came home, and slept. Life was simple. I didn't expect anything exciting to happen. But sometimes life surprises you. Sometimes big changes come when you least expect them. For me, that day was coming soon. One normal day at the coffee shop would change my life forever. I didn't know it yet, but that day was close. A man comes in. It was a rainy Tuesday morning. The doorbell above the coffee shop door rang. A man walked in. He was tall and very good-looking. He closed his black umbrella near the door and shook off the rain. I watched him for a moment. He looked different from the usual customers. He wore a dark suit. It looked expensive and very clean. It wasn't wet from the rain, maybe he came by car. He had dark hair and kind eyes. He wore a silver watch that looked very expensive. He looked like someone with money, someone important. He walked to the counter where I stood. He asked for 1 black coffee. His voice was low and calm. I felt a little nervous. My hands shook a little while I made his drink. I gave him the cup. He looked right at me and smiled. It was a warm smile. I smiled back quickly. He paid for the coffee and sat at a small table. The next day, he came back. Then he came again the day after that. Soon, he started coming every morning. He always ordered the same thing, 1 black coffee. He always sat at the same table, near the big front window. He would read a newspaper or look at his phone. Sometimes, when I was cleaning tables or making drinks, I noticed him looking at me. When our eyes met, I looked away quickly. I felt shy. My face would get warm when he looked at me. But I was also curious. Who was he? What kind of job did he have? Why did he keep coming to this little coffee shop? He seemed quiet and serious, but his smile was kind. After about 2 weeks, something new happened. I was wiping the counter. He finished his coffee and walked toward me. I thought he was just leaving. But he stopped at the counter and said, "Hi." His voice was friendly. I looked surprised. "Oh, hi," I said. "My name is Edward," he said with a smile. "I'm Patricia," I replied quietly. "It's nice to meet you, Patricia," he said. Then he added, "You make the best coffee in the city." I gave a small nervous laugh. "Thank you," I said. He smiled again and left the shop. I watched him walk into the rain. Edward. His name was Edward. I thought about him the rest of the day. I didn't know then that he would change my simple life forever. I also didn't know he was a very rich man. Going out together, Edward kept coming to the coffee shop every day. He always smiled at me, and we started talking more. I enjoyed it. One afternoon, when the shop was quiet, he finished his coffee and looked at me. Then he asked, "Patricia, Would you like to go out with me? Maybe for dinner? I was shocked. My heart beat fast. A rich and handsome man like Edward wanted to take me out. I just worked in a coffee shop. My life was simple. His life seemed so different. He waited for my answer. I felt shy, but also happy. Yes, I said quietly. Yes, I would like that. Edward smiled brightly. Great. How about Friday night around 7 o'clock? I nodded. Friday night is good. He said he would pick me up. Friday came fast. I felt both excited and nervous. I didn't have many nice clothes. My dresses were simple. I looked in my small closet and chose my best one. It was blue. Pretty, but not fancy. I hoped it would be okay. Edward said the restaurant was a nice place. I worried it might be too nice for me or my dress. I brushed my hair, put on a little makeup, and hoped I looked alright. But deep down, I still felt like just a coffee shop worker, not someone who goes to expensive restaurants. At 7 o'clock, Edward arrived. He didn't drive a normal car. It was a big, black, fancy car with a driver. That made me even more nervous. You look lovely, Patricia, he said. I smiled, but I felt shy. We drove to the restaurant. It was in a rich part of the city. The place was beautiful and looked very expensive. Inside, everything was quiet and elegant. Soft music played. People wore fancy clothes and jewelry. I looked down at my simple blue dress. I felt out of place, like I didn't belong. I thought everyone was looking at me. I felt small. We sat at a nice table near the window. Edward was kind. He pulled out my chair and spoke to the waiter easily. He seemed used to this kind of place. He asked about my day and listened when I talked. He didn't speak much about himself. He kept things simple. He told funny stories that made me laugh. Slowly, I started to feel more comfortable. His laugh was warm. When I laughed too, I forgot about the dress or the rich people around me. I was happy just to be with him. He had kind eyes. We ate delicious food. I had never tasted anything like it. We talked more. I asked him about his favorite books and movies. He asked me about my family and dreams. I told him my life was simple and I didn't dream of big things. Edward said, simple things can be the best things, Patricia. He was easy to talk to. But still, I felt some distance. He lived in a world of money and fancy things. I lived in a small apartment and earned just enough. I kept thinking, why did he like me? Yes, I liked him. He was kind and funny. But I felt unsure. Could this really work between us? Our lives were so different. When dinner ended, Edward took me home in his big car. At my apartment door, he smiled. I had a wonderful time, Patricia, he said. Me too, I said honestly. He gently touched my arm. Good night, Patricia. Then he left. I went inside my small apartment, sat on my couch, and thought about the night, the fancy restaurant, the car, and Edward. I liked him. But I also felt confused and a little scared. Our worlds were so far apart. Hidden things appear. Patricia and Edward started going out more often. Their relationship grew. Edward was often busy with work, but he always made time for her. He sent beautiful flowers to her small apartment. The flowers made her home feel happy and full of color. Patricia liked the gifts, but she still felt unsure. Their lives were so different. One evening, Edward took Patricia to a big party. It was on a large boat, floating on the water. Many rich and famous people were there. Loud music played. Bright lights were everywhere. Patricia wore a nice dress that Edward had bought her. Still, she felt uncomfortable. She didn't know anyone but Edward. People looked at her and whispered. She heard a woman with shiny jewelry ask, "Who is she?" "I don't know. Maybe his new girl," her friend replied. Another voice said, "She works in a coffee shop. I heard he'll get bored of her soon." Patricia felt small and hurt. She wanted to leave. Edward noticed her face. He gently took her hand and said, Don't listen to them, Patricia. They don't know you. But I do. You are special. He smiled at her. But still, Patricia felt worried. A few days later, Patricia went to meet Edward with clear emotions and smooth flow. It continues directly from the last part and stays faithful to the original story, while improving clarity and tone. At his office, A Hidden Past, Patricia arrived early at Edward's office. It was a huge building with large windows that showed the whole city. Edward wasn't there yet, but his assistant asked Patricia to wait in his private office. She walked slowly around the big room. Everything looked rich and expensive. On Edward's big wooden desk, she noticed a photo frame. She picked it up. It showed a smiling woman with blonde hair and a little baby boy. They looked happy together. Patricia stared at the photo. She didn't know who they were, but something inside her felt tight and nervous. Her heart began to beat faster. A few minutes later, Edward walked into the room. He smiled when he saw Patricia until he noticed the photo in her hand. His smile slowly disappeared. Patricia looked at him and quietly asked, "Edward, who are these people?" Edward paused for a moment. Then he looked down and sighed. His voice was low. "That's my ex-wife. And that's my son." Patricia froze. "You have a son?" she asked softly, her chest feeling heavy. Edward nodded slowly. "Yes. I haven't seen him in 2 years." Patricia couldn't speak. Her thoughts were spinning. Why didn't he ever tell her this? She stared at him. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Edward looked sad. "I wanted to. But I was afraid," he said. "Afraid you would leave me if you knew about my past." Patricia felt torn. She cared about Edward. Maybe she was even falling in love with him. But this was a huge secret. He had another life, a child, a marriage, and she had known nothing about it. Big news comes. Even though Patricia was hurt, she still spent time with Edward. One evening, he invited her to his house. It was a big, beautiful place with many rooms and giant windows. They watched a movie together in his home theater. It was quiet and peaceful there. After the film, they didn't go to bed right away. They sat on a soft sofa and talked for hours. Patricia opened up about her life. Edward listened carefully and held her hand. That night, she felt close to him, like maybe she could trust him again. Weeks went by. Patricia kept working at the coffee shop. Edward still came to see her often. But Patricia started to feel strange. She was very tired every day and sometimes felt sick in the morning. She thought maybe she was just stressed. But when the feeling didn't stop, she bought a pregnancy test. At home, she followed the instructions and waited. When she looked at the result, her hands shook. The test was positive. She was pregnant. Patricia sat on the bathroom floor, staring at the test. Her heart felt full of fear, surprise, and confusion. She knew she had to tell Edward. She called him right away. Her voice was quiet. "Can we meet? There's something important I need to tell you." They met later in a quiet park. Patricia sat next to him on a bench. Without saying much, she showed him the test. Edward stared at it, his eyes wide. He was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said softly, "Wow. I didn't expect this." "Me neither," Patricia whispered. Edward took her hand. "Don't worry. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of the baby. I promise." Patricia listened to his words, but she still felt unsure. The outside world gets loud. Soon, everyone knew about the pregnancy. News sites and newspapers showed photos of Patricia. Headlines read, "Rich man Edward to have. Baby with coffee shop girl." Patricia's name and face were everywhere. She didn't know how they got her photo, maybe from when she was with Edward in public. Her quiet life was gone. When she left her apartment, strangers pointed and whispered. Photographers stood outside her home every day with big cameras. Flash after flash, they blinded her. She felt scared. She stopped going to work. She stayed in her apartment, feeling trapped. Edward sent security guards and kept calling to reassure her, but nothing helped. The peaceful life she loved had vanished. Then, one afternoon, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She answered carefully. "Hello?" A calm but cold voice replied. "Is this Patricia?" "Yes," she said. "Who is this?" "I'm Edward's ex-wife," the woman said. Patricia froze. "I just want to warn you," the woman said. "Be careful with Edward. He's not who you think. He lied to me for years." Patricia's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "Just be careful," the woman repeated. Then she ended the call. Patricia sat on her couch, confused and scared. Did Edward lie to her too? Was there more he hadn't told her? She picked up her phone again and called Edward. When he answered, she said in a strong but quiet voice, "Edward, we need to talk. Your ex-wife just called me. She said you lied. Please tell me the truth. Everything. The real story." Edward looked tired as he sat across from Patricia. He took a deep breath and began to explain. He told her his family owned a big company that almost went bankrupt years ago. To save it, his parents arranged for him to marry a woman from another wealthy family. It wasn't love. It was a business deal. "They helped us with money," he said, "so I married her. But we were never happy. They eventually divorced. It was a painful time, and Edward promised himself he would never fall in love again. He focused only on work and stayed alone. Then one rainy day, he walked into a small coffee shop and met Patricia. "You were different. Please. Let's be a family, me, you, and our baby." Patricia's heart was full. She cared about him deeply. But she also felt afraid. "Edward. I need time," she whispered. "I can't say yes right now." Edward nodded. "Take the time you need," he said gently. Patricia went back to her small apartment. She returned to work at the coffee shop. Making coffee again helped her feel normal. It gave her space to think. Days later, while she was working, the coffee shop door opened. Edward walked in, holding a small boy in his arms. His son. Patricia's heart jumped. Edward came to the counter with the child. "Patricia," he said softly, "this is my son. I wanted you to meet him. He wanted to meet you too." The little boy looked up at her with curious eyes. He looked just like Edward. Patricia looked at the boy, then at Edward. Something inside her changed. She saw not just a rich man with a hard past, but a father. A man who wanted a second chance. Tears filled her eyes, some from the pain of before, but also from hope. She took a deep breath. "Okay, Edward," she said gently. "Let's try. Let's try to build a family." She didn't say yes to marriage yet. They both knew they needed to go slowly, one step at a time. But this was a new beginning. A fresh start for Patricia, Edward, his son, and their baby. It wouldn't be easy. But Patricia felt something she hadn't felt in a long time.